to BBC News. Our top stories this hour. The battle to be crowned champions of Europe goes to extra time as England and Italy finish the 90 minutes at Wembley, 1 goal apiece. England went 1-up against Italy in just 3 minutes after kick-off, thanks to a bit of magic from Luke Shaw. England went wild as the goal went in, but it wasn't to be the last word in England's first final in 55 years. Italy hit back in the second half to level up scores, with Leonardo Bonucci putting them back in contention. In other news, the UK's vaccine minister says the government is confident that plans to lift a range of COVID restrictions will go ahead on July the 19th, but he also said it expects people to carry on wearing masks indoors.
A sixth Wimbledon title.
And at Wimbledon, it's game, set, match to Novak Djokovic yet again. This time he beats Matteo Berrettini 3-1. It's his 6th grass court title. And lift-off and touchdown for a billionaire. The Virgin Galactic founder Richard Branson has flown to the edge of space on his company's first ever passenger flight before gliding back to Earth safely.
No, I wanted to enjoy every minute of it, and I did.
Hello, and wherever you are in the UK or around the world, welcome to BBC News. I'm Shaun Ley. The final of the Euro 2020 contest taking place in Wembley Sunday night has gone into extra time. England started so strongly and scored in the first 2 minutes of the game with a volley from Luke Shaw. In the second half, Italy equalised with a scrappy goal off the rebound from Leonardo Bonucci. Now, both teams faced the prospect of an extra half-hour play and the possibility of the dreaded penalty shootout. It all ends in tears. This is the scene in Trafalgar Square. Night has fallen, but nobody is heading home. The big screens lit up in the fan zone set up jointly by the Mayor of London and other local authorities to ensure fans could watch the match in controlled conditions because of the pandemic. This is Wembley Way, the entrance to the stadium, one of the most famous football arrival locations in the world. And to Rome, where our correspondent Mark Lowen is there in a similarly tense atmosphere, Mark, I should imagine, and in fact one in which I have to say there were rather dour-looking faces we were seeing played on the news agency pictures from Italy, but what a transformational moment with that goal from Leonardo Bonucci.
Completely changed the atmosphere, Shaun, here in Piazza del Popolo in the centre of Rome. I think with that 2 minute in English goal, the Italians were completely shocked into submission. Really, they were really caught on the back foot, quite literally. And the mood here was one of complete silence and shock. And it took the Italians quite some time to recover, but they did recover and they regained their confidence. And then with that stunning Italian equaliser at 67 minutes, the mood here completely lifted. There were flares, there was partying, there were celebrations. The Italians behind me, some of them wearing Roman gladiator helmets, others with their tricolour wigs, waving the Italian flags really, really high. I mean, there's a sense of real celebration and elation here that they are putting up such a good fight as we go into extra time and we see whether either of these two sides can pull it out of the bag. Yeah,
I mean, Mark, one of the English newspapers on Sunday morning had a photo montage of Harry Kane, the England captain, as Caesar. And somebody on the paper review last night was pointing out that had potentially rather mixed messages in it, given how things ended up for Caesar. It would be quite something, wouldn't it, for England to be humbled by Italy, but at the same time, this is an Italian team with a truly remarkable record under Roberto Mancini.
Absolutely, 33 unbeaten games, Shaun, and 14 consecutive victories. And Roberto Mancini, of course, has revolutionised the Italian team from the deflation of failing to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, something that was at the time labelled an apocalypse here. Then came in the salvation of Mancini, who worked his magic, brought in young players to revitalise the team, give it a sense of real confidence and real joy as well, Shaun. That's been the overriding feeling here in Italy, I think, in the whole progress right through this European Championship, is a sense of real enjoyment. I mean, the Italians are enjoying the ride, and boy, have they needed it after the torrid year and a half that this country has had, being the first country in the West to be crushed by the coronavirus pandemic. Now, I think just simply the mere fact of Italians being able to be out with their friends, enjoying the match without masks, although in the crowds they are, but, you know, watching it with big screens and bars, and actually feeling like there's some kind of sense of rebirth here, which means that for many people celebrating here and right up and down Italy, I think that in itself is already a victory.
I should let viewers know, Mark, that extra time has begun being played in Wembley at the moment, and so they may have noticed some Italy fans running past you, waving and cheering a few moments ago. It wasn't a second goal, I can reassure England fans, at least not yet. Some important figures obviously have gone to the match, haven't they? I noticed obviously President Mattarella is there on behalf of Italy and the Italian people, and doubtless hoping that he'll witness Italy raising yet another Euros trophy. And the person who I wonder must be struggling a bit with the time of day is Gianni Infantino, the Swiss-Italian FIFA president, who apparently flew back from the Copa America as soon as that finished in Rio in the early hours and turned up at Wembley this afternoon. Couldn't blame him. He had matchsticks in his eyes. Is it going to be a late night there, do you think? Either way?
I think it's going to be a late night here. We're 1 hour ahead of you, Shaun. So it's already what are we now? 11 here, Italian time, and we're at the start of extra time. If it goes to penalties, it's going to be a nail-biting late night for people. But Italians are a football passionate nation. Football runs through the veins of this country. So whether they are at home on the edge of their sofas, screaming at the TV, necking the probably something stronger than an espresso at this time of night, or whether they're here in the fan zones or in the big screens right across the country, they're just having a great time, really. And whatever happens tonight, I think that feeling of elation is going to go through.
And are COVID restrictions making much difference there, Mark?
Well, I mean, it has limited numbers here, so it might look a little bit empty behind me compared to some of the scenes from Wembley, because there are limits on numbers here at Piazza del Popolo. For those who don't know Rome, this is a central square, one of the central squares in the heart of the city. And just casting my elbow because it looks like there's an Italian attack. And it is not, it's not an Italian goal. I'm sorry. I think it would have been a far louder cheer behind me if it had been an Italian goal. I think the Italians just foiled an England attack, perhaps. Going back to the idea of the COVID restrictions, there are 2,000 people who are allowed here in this square. So actually, for such a huge piazza, that is actually not a huge number of people. But it's a sign, actually, of how the Italians have just been, they followed the rules and regulations of the pandemic from the word go. They were shocked into submission for being the first to be hit. And you don't get sense of anybody trying to push into this square. It's all being very well policed, very well guarded. And we'll have to see what happens if they win, or indeed if they lose, if the mood changes here in half an hour, 40 minutes time.
Mark Lowen in Italy, in Rome, thank you very much. Let me just bring you an update then for viewers around the world. This is the view in Trafalgar Square in central London, one of the official fan zones where people are able to gather respecting COVID restrictions, the ones Mark was talking about, not so dissimilar in the UK at the moment. England is under restrictions due to be lifted, or scheduled to be lifted, the day after, a week tomorrow, Monday the 19th. So this is the view in Coventry where fans are waiting to watch an increasingly tense second half. England just narrowly averted a second goal. The score is 1-1 at Wembley Stadium. We're partway through half an hour of extra time. You're watching World News from the BBC. There's the view from the Shard, from our news helicopter over central London. It's capturing images of fans and people watching in the streets, but this is a rather spectacular view of London by night, City of London, rather quieter city than has been the case for the last year or so because of COVID restrictions. Might be about to get a bit busier from Monday week.